What's up, everybody? Happy Halloween. Welcome to the Yokai Delinquents podcast Halloween special. I am Sean, Bearded Capitalitan.
And I am Jerry Robotingu Smith.
And in honor of this special day, we are in costume doing a special video cast for Halloween. We are dressed as the My Hero Academia Vigilantes main characters. Well, Jerry technically is the main character. I'm dressed as one of, I guess, the true hero. But he's the mentor, the teacher. I am Knuckle Duster.
Knuckle Duster, and I'm the Crawler.
And for those who, there's the camera. I can't see shit in this mask. Like I was really trying to punch at it. I'm like way low. I can't. I can barely see shit. As anyone who cosplays knows, especially if you wear glasses like I do, when you get into the costume, you want to stay in costume. And you can't see shit because contact lenses don't work for me. On top of the nice mesh I got going to my unfortunately hastily made bandana. But but just so I can actually see what's going on, if I got to adjust anything, we're going to lose the mask a little bit.
Woo. He has eyes.
I do. And now I have 4 of them, and I can see again. But yeah.
Perfect.
This is one of my favorite times of the year. We are recording this on Halloween. It's going to be our first of many. I think this could start a nice little fun tradition of Halloween specials for this podcast. Assuming we can stand each other in a year and we're still doing this. But
right.
Yeah, I thought it might be a fun little thing to do with the video in costumes and dress up, since not only do we have the pandemic going on, ain't nobody really trick or treating or going out right now. Our old asses will be getting kicked off porches. We go around knocking for candy. So there'll be like
spooky season.
But it's good time for the spoopy, and that's what we want to kind of discuss today with y'all. On top of just celebrating the spoopy holiday, we're going to talk about some spooky stories, our favorite horror movies, anime, video game, whatever. It's going to be just horror themed on this one. So
whatever we think of and deem spooky.
Absolutely. Now, I'll go ahead and kick us off with a nice question for you, Jared.
Okay. All right.
What is your favorite horror movie? If you had to kind of nail it down to close to one, of course, but what's some of your all-time favorite? Whether it's because it's scary, or just a good horror, just whatever reason, what's one of your favorites?
Right. There's a few that I cannot go this month without watching, and one of them, it's not really scary, but you know me, I kind of like my campy silliness.
Yeah.
And it's Evil Dead. I'll watch that.
Now, clarify, Evil Dead 1? Over to part 1. Most people like part 2. Evil Dead 1. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
1.
I feel it's underappreciated.
Usually I'll watch 2. Yeah. I'll watch 2 if I'm in the mood to watch like Army of Darkness. I'll watch those together. But I'll watch the first one. And then I will also put in Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Good taste. I guess so. Good taste.
Classic. Good. What are you gonna do with those pies, boys? I fucking love it so much.
Absolutely.
Plus, it came out in the best year.
It was in 1980.
It was 1988. Sean.
I knew what you were getting at.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. And then one more that I watch every year during this time, Cabin in the Woods. Instant classic. Easily, it's phenomenal. Yeah. What do you got? You watch a few horror movies this time of year, right?
One or two.
Every now and
then. If you follow me on social media, this time of the year, I'm doing my random horror movie marathon all through October, which, for those who don't know, what I do is every day in October, I go onto one of my many streaming options, go to the horror movie listing, and watch the first horror movie on the list that I haven't seen. Good, bad, new, old, doesn't matter. So every day in October, I get to watch a new to me horror movie, and not a lot of good ones. Usually, this year's been pretty solid. Yeah, this year's been pretty solid, though. I'm not gonna lie. Overall,
Yeah.
but yeah. So not only do I discover a lot of bad ones I can tell people to avoid in case they're trying to find something new to watch on Halloween.
Right.
You find some good gems. Some standouts have been like this year alone. Like I mean, The Color from Space was an amazing movie to me. I think we brought it up in an earlier show.
Yeah.
That one's been one of the best that came out for me this year. New to me because I think it came out a year or two ago. But that's the beauty of it. It's new to me. So that one was probably one of the standouts. There've been a few others that, of course, I'm just going blank on right now. But if I can think of them, I'll definitely bring them up. But as far as just horror movies in general that I'm a big fan of, I think it's not one movie because it is a saga. It's an entire franchise, and that is Friday the 13th is my absolute favorite. Love some Jason Voorhees. I'm just as in deep with the fan theories, explaining the bullshit of that show, the movie franchise. I love it from the camps to the outer space to beating the shit out of Freddy Krueger. I love some Friday the 13th.
You brought up the space movie,
dude. Jason X. That was my first. Yes. That was the first Friday the 13th I was able to see in theaters. I fucking love Jason X. Yeah,
Jason X is dope.
Don't get it wrong. I know what some of y'all are out there thinking, and you're justified in thinking so. When you have to take it to space, the franchise is on its last legs, and that might be true. But look, man, Jason is all about killing stupid people. No, he moved up from teenagers. He'll just kill anybody, which is, the godsend to some of these. Because some of these people are just lucky that breathing's an automated function. Because they're just so damn dumb. Like, one of my favorite kills in there is, because, again, to set up the stupidity, when they defrost him, he's up in the spaceship, and the guy gives him his machete back. He's like, and he turns around like, it's okay, guys. He just wanted his machete back. And then stab. And of course, like, the cryo freeze on that one lady's face and smashed it on. Like, that's some fun kills in that movie. And it's a lot of fun. But yeah, overall.
We really need Freddy versus Jason in space.
Get round 2 now in space. Special guest, Leprechaun in space.
Oh my god, please.
Hellraiser was in space.
What? Really? Yeah, that was a thing?
One of them was in space. I'm pretty damn certain I'm remembering. I'm talking like part 5 or 6, like deep into the franchise. And Hellraiser went to hell, pun intended, a lot quicker. Like, I mean, maybe 1 and 2 are probably the best of the franchise, and then you don't need to watch any of the other Hellraiser films. Because my God, especially, like, here's the problem. With like we talked with Craig a little bit on one of our specials. Y'all be coming out later. I believe we brought it up. Maybe I just talked to him in person. I can't remember now. When origin films and horror movies tend not to work for me, because 9 times out of 10 the writers want to make them sympathetic, and not all slashers work that way. Like Jason Voorhees, I don't really need more, because I actually like a lot of people are like, oh, we all know his story. He drowned in the lake and his mother killed people. Then why is he an adult in part 2? That takes place months after the first one.
God, I never thought about that before.
this is what I think about.
Yeah.
Here's my theory then, if I haven't told you this one then before.
Okay.
Because we have Jason's origin from a crazy bitch who's murdering people. Not the most reliable source. I think Jason grew up in the woods, feeding his mother, keeping her going, while she would probably acknowledge him at times, but then when she sees the counselors, she just, oh, my son's dead. I have to murder people. So we only ever got his origin from a crazy bitch, from Pamela Voorhees. So, not a reliable source. So I think he grew up. Then, of course, we had from part 2 to, The New Blood, I think, is when there was a fake Jason, and then he got Frankenstein back to life with when the guy, Corey Feldman's character, grown up, stabbed in the chest with Horshack from Welcome Back, Carter, for some reason, with him. And he kills them, and then from there, Jason's the undead zombie, basically. He's just a living corpse that returns to the earth to heal, even after he's defeated at the end of every movie. But again, that's what fans do. we pieced it together. But that's always been my theory, because that's never been addressed. Every movie's just like, you heard the tale about Jason, he died in the lake. Well, like I say, he wasn't dead until like part 5. Well, no, part 4. Yeah, part 4. Then they had the fake, the pretend. Look, it's a long series. But yeah, but Friday the 13th is my absolute favorite. But I'm a big horror buff. I love a lot of different horror movies. Like I said, that's my franchise. Jason Voorhees is just one of my favorite characters. But like, In the Mouth of Madness, I know I showed you this film. If you hadn't seen it before, I showed it to you. John Carpenter's take on H.P. Lovecraft. I think it's an underrated horror film. Like, it's got all that Carpenter, style, but it has a lot of this creepy imagery that really fits into the, the Cthulhu and that kind of like the cult mentality. Remember much of that one?
Was that the one with the actor from Jurassic Park?
Yes, Sam Neill.
Yes. Yep.
Him investigating the horror author that disappeared, and then Sutter Kane, the classic thing of that dude coming through the window with the axe, just looking dead in the face like, "Do you read Sutter Kane?" That's great. That's fucked up. And then the mystery deepens into that town, which is just so many homages to H.P. Lovecraft stories. That's a good one. Another one I'm a really big fan of, I try to push on the people too, is Lord. I can't think of what it's called.
Why you think of that?
Please,
I'm going to throw out
live
some
recording
honorable mentions.
Yeah.
That Steph and I actually watched this week, and we haven't seen it in a while. Room 1408.
Yes.
With John Cusack and Samuel Jackson.
Yeah.
Man, I haven't seen that in a hot minute, and it is still as fucked up and freaky as ever.
Oh, no, that's a good one. Absolutely. Stir of Echoes was the movie I was trying to remember.
Oh.
Kevin Bacon. Yeah, Kevin Bacon goes to a party, and he's always been told he's really closed-minded. He's not open to anything. His girlfriend kind of complaining they're at a party, and she has a friend that is kind of into seances and meditation and hypnosis.
Oh boy.
And basically at the party, he's like I said, he's real shut to everything, doesn't care about anything, doesn't believe in anything. So she's like, I'm going to hypnotize you. And one of the last things she says, well, he doesn't know it at first. He just goes under, wakes up, and he's like thirsty as hell and cold. Then he starts experiencing supernatural stuff.
Now this is 2020, so whenever you say thirsty, you meant like dehydrated, right?
Possibly both. I mean, look, you don't know. I've never been hypnotized. You may wake up thirsty as hell, as you do. But yeah, so it's revealed that part of her hypnosis, one of the things she said was, you're going to be more open. And what that ended up actually meaning was he's open to the supernatural, to the spirits. And then it turns into a very creepy ghost story that's also a murder mystery. So yeah, I think that one's another one that's a little underappreciated, but it's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Another good one that we watched this week was 13 Ghosts.
Oh, classic. Now, like the early 2000s one, or
yes.
the original?
Yeah.
Okay.
What? There was a remake?
That's a remake.
Was
there's like a black and white era, I believe, like 50s.
Yeah.
The early 2000s one is a remake.
Yeah. The remake is actually the only one I knew about. But no, it's fantastic.
No, dude. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, like, all of the costume designs and everything for all the ghosts was like just spot on. Like,
no, absolutely. So now I was actually talking with a coworker about this the other day. The DVD came with like little short bios of each of the ghosts, so you kind of get their history. But I was like, I would love like somebody like Netflix or HBO, somebody that's going to put some money behind it and do a series, maybe each episode or about each ghost when they were alive and what put them into, like, being like the Nail, the Machine, that. Like, we found out what they were, and they're all terrible people. It's not like there's going to be any kind of redemption stories, but I thought that would be very interesting just to see the origins of these ghosts.
Man, you got a $1 million Netflix deal right there, buddy.
Hopefully they're listening with all the other spy equipment.
You need to pitch that.
Maybe finally make my millions and billions. But yeah, 13 Ghosts is classic.
I've got a little horror film topic.
Okay.
We've talked about our big ones, like key points, movies that we've really loved. What is the biggest piece of shit horror movie that you know of? And I'm not saying like it was made bad, like on purpose. It's supposed to be like shitty, or like small budget or something like that. It just wasn't great. Something that like some people rave about, but was just hot garbage. Or like something that was supposed to be like, really good standout. I will actually start because I just watched this movie for the first time last year, and I couldn't say enough bad things about it.
Right.
And that movie is 2003's High Tension. You know this movie?
I don't believe I watched that one. No.
Well, see, now I kind of don't want to spoil it because I want you to watch it. But at the same time, I want to save you the trouble. And I'm kind of surprised that you haven't seen it because it was like, in that 2003, I figured like it was really big whenever I was in high school. Like people were fucking raving about it.
Let me clarify. I'm an old man. I watch especially ever since I started these marathons. I've seen a lot of movies. Mm-hmm. To my knowledge, I have not seen it. But often, I've often started a movie in these marathons, got 5 minutes in, like, oh shit, I've seen this before. Especially the bad ones, like, unless they're, like, atrocious and I just go on a rant, I kind of watch them and forget about them. I get my little thoughts on Facebook and then I move on. So, to my knowledge, I've not watched this film. I could be wrong.
Okay. So, essentially, what this movie's about. They're two women. And I believe they are college students. Here, I'll just read you the synopsis that I have pulled up on IMDb, and then I'll just go from there. Best friends, Mary and Alexia, decide to spend a quiet weekend at Alexia's parents' secluded farmhouse, but on the night of their arrival, the girls' idyllic getaway turns into an endless night of horror. Right? Sounds like you're...
Every fucking horror movie out there.
yeah, basically. So the whole deal with this is it is, I believe, French, right?
Oh.
And it took me a minute to realize this because they dubbed over their mouths, right?
Right.
And at first I thought it was just like, what's going on? Like, why does this seem weird? And then I was like, oh, they fucking spaghetti westerned it, and that's why it looks really weird. France. So, like, I think 2/3 through the movie, they just switch to French. And there's no option just to switch it, like, anyway. So you're just kind of stuck with these dubs, and it's just really weird. You get a glimpse of the killer at the beginning in this truck, and he's self-fellatioing with a severed head that he tosses out the window.
As you do.
Right. And the movie essentially goes into this state of, him going to this house, murdering the family, even the pet dog, and then he doesn't find one of the girls, and he takes the one whose family he just murdered and basically throws her in the back of his truck. The main girl is like chasing him the whole time. At some point, he stops at a gas station. She's in the back, and she's like talking to her friend and stuff like that. And was like, "I'll get you out of here." Blah blah blah. We'll be best friends forever. And they get to this point where she's in the woods fighting this guy, and she ends up killing him. And when she goes to save her friend, apparently her friend reveals that she was the killer the whole time. But it's like that thing of where you're looking at it and you're like, this doesn't, it made no sense to that. Right. They didn't try to do anything clever to make you go back and think, like, oh, so yeah, this part makes sense now that she was doing this. But it's like, no, you were literally hiding in this bedroom. We saw this. You were hiding in this bedroom the entire time the killer was killing everyone else in the house. Like, it was just such hot garbage. Right. And like teenagers at my school were absolutely like just thrilled about it and thought it was the most brilliant shit they'd ever watched in their entire life. And like, I don't know, the entire day after, I just went on like a whole rant about how just bad it was. It was just, man, ugh, just could not get the taste of that movie out of my mouth.
Yeah, no, I gotcha. Yeah, to my knowledge, I've not seen that one. But what I was gonna say was that's those kind of cheap twists you see in like poor production in horror movies, where like it doesn't make sense. There's some very clever twists out there that make sense, and often, sometimes though, it's so good you need that little like. I think now it's kind of become a trope of just the recap, like after the reveal, it cuts to like each old scene that was showing the hints that we didn't pick up, which can be fine. But like, yeah, sometimes it's just like, oh, I was a killer the entire time. But like, literally, you can literally point out in the movie where they were like, no, there's no feasible way. Yeah, it sounds like a cheap twist. Which in 2003, that was roughly where we're probably still hitting the Shyamalan popular twist era.
Right.
So that was probably still a thing. Now, movie we watched recently was hella advertised on Amazon Prime. It's a remake, the only good thing out of this movie was I want to kind of find the original. Is Disturbia.
Oh, yes.
No, I'm sorry. Suspiria. I had the wrong movie. I was thinking of the Halle Berry movie.
Suspiria was Shia LaBeouf, right?
No.
No. Oh, no. Suspiria, was that the one with the witches?
Well, yeah, actually, if you want
to. Okay.
Yeah. German dance troupe.
Right.
A girl wants to join in, and then, cultist shit starts happening. One good sequence of it, but that kind of is like some disturbing stuff with a great contortionist to kind of show what's going down on it. But the rest of it is just uninteresting, slow, dull, and just it's a remake of a Dario Argento film. If you're not familiar with that Italian director, especially his stuff in like the 60s or 70s, like he used bright color to make it just as creepy. You know what I mean? He didn't have to film it all dark and dreary. It was just like, from what I've seen imagery of it, I need to go watch it because I really want to see the contrast of how it is. From what I've read and what I understand about it, like it's a very poor adaptation, and to me it's just kind of boring without much payoff, with a lot of twists at the end that have no explanation because supernatural. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to explain. Ain't gotta explain shit, man. Ghosts, yo. Witches, yo. You know what I mean? Like, ain't gotta explain it. It's just, this has just happened. That was, at least, I remember hearing a lot about it, hyped up. Yeah. It's don't get it wrong, production's up there. Well shot for as dull as it was, but you know what I mean? But it's not like it was dull because of crappy camera work or anything.
Yeah.
So that one was, that would be a recent one that I can think of top of my head, but I've had a lot of movies, like, good and bad, that people have really hyped, that I didn't like, you know what I mean? Because, like, sometimes things can get overhyped, of course. And there's other things, which, I did want to throw out another one I watched recently that's very good this year, Braid, on Amazon Prime. It's I believe it's a Blumhouse film.
I've been seeing that advertised,
Artsy, psychological horror, well shot, beautifully acted, trippy as shit. There's some crazy shit goes down at the end that makes sense. Definitely check that one out. But what I was getting to was, like, you mentioned, like, the movies that aren't, like, shot intentionally bad for the sake of being bad. That doesn't excuse bad all the time. When things are made purposely to be that cult hit, Like, oh, we filmed it cheesy and had the bad acting because we know people are going to eat their popcorn and really like it. Like Sharknado, which was not, I believe they filmed as best they could. For what they had for a sci-fi film, as much as I didn't like, and I didn't like Sharknado, you know this, they tried. They were trying to make...
Did you ever finish it?
Yeah. Actually, I did end up going back and finishing it. Okay. It didn't help. It did not help. I know I walked out of your house watching Sharknado. You were so happy to show me this fucking piece of shit film. But, to their credit, it was a cult hit because they made their fucking film. You know what I mean? They were like, we're making a movie about sharks in a tornado. Like, they knew they weren't making gold, but it felt like they were making the best movie they could with what they wanted to make. Then every sequel, every giant shark versus giant octopus, whatever bullshit out there, that's when you can tell they're like, we're going to make a cult movie. This is going to be a hit like Sharknado was. They're trying to, when cult hits are natural, they're organically made. The fan base finds it and goes crazy, and it spreads like wildfire. Evil Dead 2 was a cult hit. You know, and that was just Raimi making a batshit insane cabin horror remake of his own movie, in a sense. You know, part 2 was almost a retelling of part 1, just way over the top.
They made a comic book that connected the first one and the second one, and the first one was really just a dream that Bruce Campbell was having on the way to the cabin with just his girl. Okay.
Is that really a thing?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I found it at Kapow one day and read it, was like, oh, okay.
Well, there you go. But, again, that's like I said, like, I know we talked about it on a show. I don't remember which episode we recorded on. But Mandy with Nicolas Cage, yes. You were a big fan of, and that's fine. You can be wrong all you want. That film felt like it was self-aware of Nick Cage's recent popularity swinging up of his crazy Nick Cage acting, which is really just Nick Cage going, I don't have to act in this one. Let's just go wild with it. You know, he probably bumped a few lines, and then let's go ahead and get crazy Nick. That's what it felt like. That one felt like it was trying to be that wacky cult hit, while other movies like his Wicker Man, you know, is batshit insane, and the bees are in his eyes. He's in a bear suit punching out people. That's organic, though. I think like that. The love of that is not unironic. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense. But like, you get those movies though that are just like weird and cheesy, and people will love them. You know, and that's natural. But when they try to force it, I don't like that. You know what I mean? Like when, like, oh, we're, you know, you can feel like they're like, oh, we're making a bad movie because that's what people are gonna like. We're intentionally making it as bad as possible, like you know, Ginger Dead Man and Poultrygeist. You know what I mean?
Oh God. The haunted bong or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So to, you know, a movie series that I watched recently that's just like one of those, it's like, you know, I think they more made them just for fun. But I honestly liked the majority of them, and the newest one that they added was actually surprisingly pretty good. The fucking Tremors movies.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. I don't know. I just like on a whim, I was like, Steph's playing games or something like that. I'll toss on a Tremors movie. I cannot tell you the plot of every single one of them. And there was like a couple there later on that were just kind of like, you know, hit or miss, especially when they added Jamie Kennedy to the series. But they stuck with Burt Gummer through the entire series.
Yes, they did.
And that was like he became a legend in those movies. I don't know that he was even really in a whole lot more, but like outside of the Tremors movies. But like, I think he actually made those like what they were. Like, it's funny because I think normally whenever you bring up Tremors and people that have only seen the first ones are like, you know, oh, Kevin Bacon, you know.
Right.
But yeah, that actor was honestly phenomenal in all of them. Even though he was like one of those crazy like survivalists, like, oh, the government's gonna take my money, they're observing me, and I don't want to pay taxes and stuff like that. They played on it so hardcore, and like the latest movie that they added on Netflix this year was pretty great. I honestly really enjoyed it, and it had one of those actors that Rob Zombie uses a lot. His film. I think he just showed up in Three from Hell.
Oh wait, yeah. I don't know his name, but I know exactly what you're talking about. He was in 31. He was the main kind of killer. And he's
the big killer.
Yeah. So let me talk about some Tremors for you real quick here.
Okay.
I've seen part one. Love part one. That is a cult classic horror movie. I think cheesy at times. Again, Burt Gummer, his wife played by Reba McEntire. The country sensation singer. And then of course I forget the Kevin Bacon's friend. He was actually in a lot of movies like in the '90s and stuff. He popped around a little bit. Good classic weird graboids. The classic Warren movie.
Fred Ward.
Fred Ward, yeah. He actually had a pretty good acting career going on around that time. Then part two, I believe, was part two when they introduced the walkers, the walking ones. Yeah. So I saw that one.
I think they dubbed them, if I'm not mistaken, they were ass blasters, Sean.
Okay, sounds about right to me. Yeah, because they have again fitting. It fits. That's fine. I believe 3 is where I saw a commercial for it. Oh,
hold on. I have to go back on this. Shriekers were part 2. Ass blasters were part 3.
That's the Flyers.
Yeah.
The one that was part 3, which I didn't watch, and I hadn't seen any of them until October, when I do random horror movies, and Netflix has a brand new Tremors film, starring the actor who played Burt Gummer, Napoleon Dynamite.
Yes.
The gentleman from Rob Zombie films, especially 31, which was a standout performance by him, in my opinion. Forever made me remember the man. Also, that's another excellent horror movie I recommend. It's a slasher. Not a horror, it's a gore-fest slasher film, which I think Rob Zombie does best. Well, we might get onto that here in a second. But
Richard Brake was the name of that actor.
Yeah, excellent. Dude is in the right roles, he's very good. And in this one, not bad. Also, shout out for the Orange is the New Black fans out there like myself. Flocka was also in there. She was a girl with the short hair, was obsessed with Burt. Yeah. So, actually a lot of actors I like. That movie was fucking terrible. I got what they were going for. And there were times where it was hitting that okay, they're self-aware, they know what they're doing. But man, it dragged. It kind of dragged out a little long for me. And the digital blood kills it for me almost every time. And
I didn't even notice that.
The guns, like the digital gun burst, the light out the end of a gun is all digital, and my God, they didn't put any budget into that effect. Killed it for, and admittedly, not to take the name for one of my favorite YouTubers, I am a cinema snob because I watch a ton of movies. I look even when I'm just watching to relax, I can't help but kind of analyze things more so than the average viewer, and I can appreciate that, and I can see why a lot of people are digging it, and I hope they did. Because I always say, just because I don't like it doesn't mean you shouldn't go check it out. You might dig it. And I believe I said that in my review of it. Because there's a lot of good actors in there that I like. In there, and even making Napoleon Dynamite kind of a badass. I can't. I had his name in my head a second ago. Now I can't remember. But he was actually really good. I liked him. Like how he was slowly trying to get tougher. Just trying to mimic Burt.
Yeah.
But no, in the end, I'm like, nah. I'm sticking with the first Tremors. Nothing else exists for me. But if you do want to talk Rob Zombie films, actually, on my own, I rewatched House of a Thousand Corpses again, which I remember really liking back in the day, which had amazing DVD features with Captain Spaulding just cussing at you for not selecting something quick enough, played by the late Sig Haig. But that. Man, that's not as good as I remembered it.
Oh, really?
Even though I knew it was a tribute movie, in a sense, it was very much Rob Zombie making his own Texas Chainsaw Massacre, specifically the original 70s one. It was just, and then I watched it and I'm like, man, that's all it really is. You know what I mean? It's really just a knockoff with Dwight from The Office getting turned into a mermaid.
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah. But that's my point. I think Zombie does better in grindhouse style films, like Devil's Rejects. Even Three from Hell to a lesser extent. I didn't enjoy that one as much as Devil's Rejects, but like 31. If you haven't watched that, that's just grindhouse slasher gore, and like his Halloween movies, like Part 2, don't. It's pretty rough. I liked the first one, and again, kind of circling back to the killer origin stuff. I actually liked seeing Michael Myers as a child, seeing his home, seeing what kind of led him to it. Like, I'm not mad it's not canon, because the new trilogy is going to be a lot better. So far, the 2 they have already dropped. Wait on Halloween Kills coming out next year, I believe, or is it later this year? Sometime, sometime soon. But like, yeah. So, have you watched much zombie films?
I think I've seen actually all of those that you listed, except for the second Halloween one that he did.
Yeah, don't worry about that one.
Okay.
Like a lot of
now
people,
I'm definitely not.
Yeah, a lot of people accuse Zombie of just making films so he could put his wife on screen. And I believe Part 2 was more so, kind of started that theory, because it really is, half the movie is Michael Myers seeing his mother, played by, I think it's Sharon Zombie, is her name? But anyway, Mrs. Zombie.
Or Moon.
Or Moon.
Isn't her last name Moon?
I don't know anymore. I'm going to call her Mrs. Zombie until you correct me. 90% of that film is Michael Myers seeing her, his mother, as like an angelic figure talking to him the entire time. He tried
Sherry
to
Moon Zombie.
Sherry Moon Zombie. See, we're both right. Except for the first name, but you didn't help on that one. But don't flop your ears at me, sir. Or hair, I guess technically. Is the All Might hair. But yeah, so no, stay away from Part 2. Stay away from Lords of Salem. That was again him trying to go a little artsy with it, and it just didn't work. Like I said, but I've generally enjoyed a lot of his films. One of his best ones is his animated movie, the El Super Beasto, which is done by
wait.
I think you know that one.
I can't remember.
It's animated by the Ren and Stimpy. He did a lot of the character art and main animation.
Right. I think I've seen the cover of that multiple times, and I haven't seen it though.
It's a lot of fun. It's literally like a grindhouse cartoon. You know what I mean? It's what he does best, I think. But no, but still, I'm glad he's making movies. Which at the time of recording, I think he had an album drop, maybe yesterday. So, but here soon or today he's dropping. He's got a new album out or coming out very soon.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's like I said, that's my thoughts on Zombie in general. Rob Zombie's films, which overall more good than bad, but the bad ones, man, they kind of dip pretty low. So I do want to talk about have you ever gone back to any bad horror movies and appreciated them more?
I'm sure I have. Does Thor Ragnarok count? No.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think that's classified as horror, Jerry.
I can't think of any off the top of my head right now.
Well, I can talk about one. Granted, horror encompasses a bunch of genres. Yeah, sorry, I took my knuckles off. But encompass a lot of genres, from thriller, suspense, sci-fi, horror. So this one is a bit more of suspense thriller, but it gets into some supernatural stuff. It's called The Ninth Gate by Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp.
Starring Johnny Depp, not by him. Directed by Roman Polanski, actually, which very controversial director. His personal life, I understand why if you don't want to support any of his movies. Fuck that guy. But he does make good films, unfortunately. And this one, not for me at first, because I was working at the movie theaters when this one came out, and I had big hype about it. It's about Johnny Depp is like a professional book, like rare book retriever kind of thing. He's like a specialist in rare books, and he's tasked to find a book,
authenticating them and stuff like that.
Yeah, like he can tell fakes, he can tell authentic, and these are like $1 million books. You know what I mean? Like these are rare old books, and he's an expert in that field. So he's tasked with finding a book that's supposed to be able to open a portal to hell, bring the devil to the earth. It's always been the rumor behind it, what it's supposed to do. It's a long forgotten tome. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. It's been a while since I have watched it. I watched it in theaters, And it's a mystery, suspense, like all the stuff he goes through the entire time. And you know what? I'm gonna spoil it because the ending is what made me almost walk out of the fucking theater that I didn't pay for because I worked there. All this build up, find out that there's 3 books you have to bring together to open a portal. This girl that's been helping him out this whole time suddenly turns very strange on him and bangs him in front of a burning church, revealing that she works for the devil and everything, and he doesn't want to enter this world. And then it shows him walking into the building where you're supposed to go summon the devil. Then it goes black. Like, what the fuck did I just watch? That ending, like, I was like, that was not, like, man, was it real? Was it all in his head? No answers. And I've since kind of read someone else talking about it, like the book that it's based on. That was literally it. Apparently the author was like a heroin addict or something, and he was just going through bad phases in his life. And so it also went very off the rails too. And then I watched it again, and for me it's like, not just horror movies, but movies in general, when you kind of already know when things are going to be, the bad part of a film, it doesn't hit you as hard, I think. And so, like, I've gone back and I now kind of appreciate the film, like, the greater sum of it, I guess. It's still a very good mystery, very good intrigue and suspense and tension, and depth, of course, is very good. He's a damn good actor. But that ending will leave you a little cold if you don't know it's coming. Kind of like I think a lot of people with The Village by M. Night Shyamalan. Like that was a twist that let down a lot of people. And by the time I finally saw it, I knew the twist. So like, and I watched it, and I kind of dig that movie.
I'm kind of partial to going into a movie somewhat optimistic or so. Right. So if I don't like something, I usually don't watch it again.
Never go back. I mean, that's fair.
Because it doesn't happen often that I completely dislike something that much,
Right.
So yeah, like, I'm never rewatching High Tension again. You couldn't pay me to watch it.
Right.
Yeah, so there's no like future like, oh, actually, this movie's brilliant. No.
Well, okay. So, but do you think, like, if say someone could, like, because normally when I've revisited a film, it's not because like, oh, I remember that being shit, let me watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
It's somebody kind of like, I saw discussions online or something where someone kind of showed me a different angle on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, it's worth a watch again. You know what I mean? And like,
yeah.
And of course, like I said, I'm obviously a big movie buff. So like rewatching movies is not a big, like, I know some people who don't rewatch films at all.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there's been like that one, and like I said, The Village, where just like, people can you kind of go back and see it again. Even non-horror, like you said, Ragnarok. I remember, I think we left the theater together, and I mean, you're never going to forgive him for just putting Beta Ray Bill's face on a statue, but I think you've come to warm up to it a little bit more since we watched it when it premiered, and a lot of people have, I think. 'Cause I think the comedy, which I'd argue, I don't think it's as unbalanced as a lot of people want to make it out to be, but I get that aspect of it. Like, people were kind of thrown off at times by it. There was a few miscues in it, but yeah, like, I think like sometimes there's like, if someone can pitch me enough of sell me enough on going back to watch a movie, I'll give it a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't think of anything that I know that you and me watched together that you didn't like. I would tell you to give it another try. Because if you didn't like it with me right there going, hey, look.
Look at that.
You're probably not going to dig it.
Yeah. There was something that I think we'd be a little, remiss to not mention. Because you and I both saw this for the first time together in theaters. And, like, it was just phenomenal. The Witch.
The Witch is amazing.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, for those who don't know, that was that was like 5 years ago? Like 2014?
2015.
15? I was close.
So 5.
Oh yeah, it was 5. 14, I'm thinking it's 19. I don't want to acknowledge 2020.
Nobody does.
Yeah, that movie, like, atmosphere, tension.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't have a lot of, to my knowledge, I don't think anything made me jump. No jump scares. Just disturbing imagery. I'm not going to give anything away on this film. Disturbing imagery, tension, mood, atmosphere. It just makes you feel hopeless the entire film. and it's done so well. It's a slow burn horror film, which can be tough to do without the right actors. And like the entire cast is phenomenal. You feel the tension it's going through, and like as they're just the family just trying to survive, basically everything that's going on. And no one's gonna ever forget who watched this film. Good old Black Phillip,
Black Phillip,
the goat, the greatest goat of all time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and then like it was oh God, what was the director's name? Robert Eggers.
I believe that's right.
Yeah. Anyway, he also came out with another film just last year.
Yes, he did.
The Lighthouse,
which is also amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Same kind of slow build up, unsettling like circumstances and stuff going on. It's really one of those that's like a delve into insanity.
Oh, absolutely.
Reminds me of something that would be like in a Lovecraft like something like that. It's two lighthouse workers that are going and they're supposed to take care of the lighthouse and keep it clean and everything, and like spending like every waking moment almost with like the same person for so long. I could see how some people might be driven insane, especially if it's like a work relationship or something like that. Like it's not something that you have a choice to. You're doing it, survive or whatever.
Yeah, I mean it's literally at one point cabin fever with them because you have to be at the lighthouse at all times because you never know when a ship is going to be near the shore. You got to turn the light on. You can't keep it on all the time or it'll burn out. And you're not only is it you're trapped in the lighthouse, you're trapped in the lighthouse with Willem Dafoe, who is batshit insane. And this is starring Robert Pattinson, the new Batman, which is this movie I use as an example as people who've only ever watched him in Twilight. You want to see his acting chops? This motherfucker went toe to toe with Willem Dafoe and playing crazy and held his own. He's and this is me too. I only ever saw him in Twilight, and I still need to go through his other catalog because after seeing The Lighthouse, I see what he can do. Like I want to see more of his film. I want to see more of his acting because this motherfucker is a lot better than just being a sparkly fucking vampire. And that's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I've actually since that announcement was made, I watched quite a few of his other movies here lately. I think it was Good Times.
Yeah, I heard that one's good.
Yeah, it's definitely got some more of that like kind of cringe, like oh god, is this happening? Type stuff. And there was two more that I watched, but it's like hard to remember the names. One where like the entirety of the movie took place in a limo, which was pretty good, and another one where I think he was like a convict in space or something to that extent. And I mean, they were. It seems like a lot of the movies that he gets in kind of like slow builds, like you gotta like really kind of fill it out and everything.
Right.
So.
Oh, okay.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I definitely want to watch more of his work. Well, we've been on movies for a little while. As we know, we're currently dressed as manga characters. Is there any let's switch it over a little bit to the anime side or Japanese in general? We can actually talk about some Japanese horror if you've seen some. But like any anime or manga that you've got into horror or horror elements at least.
The most current one that's out right now that I will easily recommend. Now it is like a very action-packed, action-paced type series, and that's Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yes.
Yeah, by Gigi Akutami.
Right.
It's in Shonen Jump, and if you have a subscription to that, you can read it all there. Or the series just started on Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
And I think I actually brought this up whenever we were talking about like fall anime.
Yeah, we did. We mentioned it briefly.
And it's paranormal. How Japan likes to do their supernatural series. There's a lot of like really crazy like creatures in it that they have to like exercise and stuff like that. And then, of course, the main character is essentially possessed by a huge, like, big apparition that's occasionally his, like, mouth will pop up on the side of his face or something like that, and it'll just be spooky.
Yeah, no, that's definitely
the other.
Oh. I was say this is definitely the standout right now. I think in the fall anime, what's come out is like I said, action packed, funny, and some general creepy fucking demons and spirits and ghosts and stuff. Especially the last episode that dropped. I think one drops today actually, but the one from last week definitely was like creepy as shit, and like so it's got that good balance of action and horror for sure.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely up there on that scale. Another one that I think they made an anime about quite a bit after the manga and everything came out, and it's great. Is Parasite?
Yeah.
By Hitoshi Iwaki. So we didn't actually learn about this until the anime came out. Back in 2014 or whatever. So the original manga run was from 1988 to around 1995.
Right.
This series, it's kind of a little bit difficult to explain, but essentially the premise is there are these parasites that are essentially trying to, I guess, wipe out humanity. And the way that they do that is they infect a person, take control of their mind, and they eat people. And it is so gruesome because they'll take control of the brain. And, one of the first scenes you get is like a man and his wife standing in the dark in a room. And she's like, looking at him concerned. And then all of a sudden these like creases form on his face. And it opens up and it's a huge fucking mouth. And it just fucking bear traps on her head and just fucking eats her head. And our main character, Shinichi, he actually, something interesting happens with him where his doesn't make it to his brain and instead gets stuck in his hand. So it's one of those situations where his hand and arm is like sentient, but he still has his own mind and everything. It didn't take control. So it's kind of like him dealing with what's going on with him. Meanwhile, there's like all these other like parasites out there that are like going crazy and killing people and eating them. And man, it was a phenomenal. So
yeah, that's one admittedly I didn't stick with, but I enjoyed what I did watch. Like I don't remember why I dropped it. Maybe just too many shows, not enough time. I liked what I saw. It didn't really it didn't hook me, but I believe the hand was called Migi, I believe.
Yeah.
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 Adorable in its creepiness.
Right.
Yeah.
Migi means right. Yeah.
Oh, it does. Okay. I didn't know that one. But yeah, no, that was for people that watch the series. I know that one's a really big one. And people that stuck with it, they really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
For me, it's like I'm trying to go over some of the anime I've seen that's got like horror in it. Like you got the classics like Vampire Hunter D. Just being about vampires and stuff. Especially the old one. The older one was like, was it Bloodlust? I think was the second movie.
Yeah.
Wasn't bad. It had definitely beautiful animation, and the character design. That guy did a lot of work in like the 90s and 2000s. But the original one had a lot more. I think it had a creepier atmosphere to it.
Yeah.
But a lot of weird elements. He's going through Dracula's castle and just everything going. Or not Dracula. It was Count. I'm going blank again, and I'm worried. I'm too scared to change the capture because of how we're recording this. I can't look up anything.
Right.
But regardless, it's a classic. It's a good classic horror film, and there's really more for me, and which is rare because I don't watch a lot of horror outside of live action movies. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not big into like horror comic books, but I make an exception for manga, and that is definitely the works of Junji Ito, who we've talked about before on this. He has a ton of collections out there of just his short stories, which I think he is the master of the short story. But one of his best long form story, and as much as I hate recommending it first, because then I'm not saying that stuff isn't as good, but none of them really compare to Uzumaki. which is usually the first story I give to everyone to read of his, to get you hooked into his work. And the man took the simple premise of the Spiral and turned that into an entire horror story. And this is a full, long form book of different tales of the same town. I believe it was all in the same town. As people slowly get obsessed with spirals, by so much to where like they're styling their hair, but then it's being Junji Ito, it's a lot of body horror and psychological horror. Very H.P. Lovecraft in his tales. To where like there's a dad in this one family who becomes obsessed with spirals, more so to like I don't want to give it away, but like you got to kind of sell it. And it's like I believe it was like the opening story, where they basically like he just is like obsessed with making spirals out of everything, and then eventually himself. I'll put it like that. Like, and it's just like it's creepy, it's disturbing. That's just the beginning of this tale. I've never been able to find it, even through nefarious means. There was a live action adaptation of it in Japan, and our buddy Craig said there is a movie called Spiral out there, which I don't know if it's the Japanese adaptation or someone else made an adaptation of it, but it's out there, and there's movie forms of this book as well, if you can track them down. Unfortunately, and like Crunchyroll put out a Junji Ito collection, which I don't feel like really captured his art, his moodiness, the creepiness of his stories that well.
Right.
I wasn't very happy with how it came out, to be honest. But like, I don't know, they're trying again. Not the same studio, actually. Adult Swim, at least a promo. I haven't heard anything else about it since. But they're making a Junji Ito animation. Like, you know, they're going to do their own anime. So hopefully that'll be a better adaptation. But yeah, for Junji Ito, he's done from his original works like Gyo, which is just a simple story of parasites attach themselves to sea creatures so they can come on land. And you got sharks running through the middle of a town, chopping the shit out of people, to just one-shot stories of, like, you know, just a kid who's obsessed with voodoo dolls and nailing them in. That was actually the Funko Pop I showed in our pickup video. If y'all check that out on this channel. You know, like his weirdness about him, and just like, and of course Tome, his long-running one, like there's a collection of her entire story, and it's awesome to see his art from the 80s to like the last story, which I think was in like the late 90s, early 2000s, and seeing how it improved. Just a reoccurring ghost story about a girl who will make a boy fall in love with her to the point where they kill her so she can come back from the dead to kill them in a brutal manner. It's crazy shit, but it's some of the most amazing horror.
Premise.
Yeah, some of the most amazing horror. There's been, I believe, Amazon Prime has one of the Tomei movies actually on it. I think I queued it up. I've yet to go watch it yet. That might have to be one of my wrap-up Halloween night tonight with it, maybe, because I've been putting it off. But yeah, that one, like, that's for me. That's like, you know, in manga form especially. That's some of the best horror out there is Junji Ito.
Now we can't mention Junji mentioning the greatness of Yan and Moon.
That is, like, man, that man can write anything to make it creepy. I'm not going to say scary with that one, but Yan Mon is a story about him and his wife and their 2 cats. He even provides pictures of them in the book to show you, like one of them, I can't remember if it's Yan or Mon, has kind of a skull pattern on his back, you know, and he just goes in and you just see him, caricature of himself, just being totally disturbed by that. With his mind, I'm not surprised. It's adorable, and yet like he draws his wife with no pupils. She just has whited out eyes the entire fucking time for no reason. And like I think I read an interview where she like she knew he was making this book about them, but she never looked at it until it was published, and then she was like, "Why am I drawn like that?" He's like, in my mind, his reaction was because Junji Ito, because that's literally the only reason for it. Because it has to be creepy. You married me. You know what you got into.
Yeah, that's when Sean runs in and says, "You said yeah."
But let's do. We're going to do one more subject. We're going to go a little long on this, though. But I kind of want to talk about this too.
That's fine. Yeah.
You played horror video games?
I was going to bring that up.
Good man.
I am kind of like, I'm not a huge horror game person. But there are a select few that I will get into just because I've heard great things about it or that I've wanted to play. Like, you know, because you've got so many in the Resident Evil and Silent Hill series and stuff like that.
Right.
My all-time favorite, and like, you know, video games can be a cult classic too. I think it has a cult following. And I'm so sad that it's never had any kind of remake or anything like that because I actually didn't get to finish it. And it's one of those games that was just like so cool and so great for the time, and that's Eternal Darkness that came out on Game.
Oh.
Did you ever play that?
Never played it. Had a friend that had it. Currently, one of my YouTubers. I'm waiting for him to finish it and then kind of like sit back and watch them all. His name's Pro Jared. He's currently playing through. He's uploading his playthrough of it, and that's like my thing about this too is like again I don't do much horror outside of movies.
Right.
I don't do a lot of video games, but I'm going to talk about the one that got to me, and I'll talk about mine here in a second. But yeah, no, that one's an absolute classic.
Yeah, it's just so cool because it kind of gets that whole like this girl, I think it's her uncle dies, so then she kind of inherits his mansion or something, and you're going through the house and you're finding clues and stuff to his death while also finding these stories of I guess stuff that he was researching, and each time you hear one of the stories, you jump to that time frame and play the character that the story is about.
Right.
And as you go through the stories as these characters, and each one's played differently, you know, you kind of get creeped out that it has like effects to it that'll is supposed to mess with the player, where it'll show like the volume going down.
Right.
And like so it's supposed to make people want to turn the volume up and be like, what the heck? And then something happens all of a sudden. Or like it looks like game glitches where like a fuck ton of like monsters pop up and then like, you know, they disappear or whatever. Like it's like, oh god, you know, a bunch of this shit's just spawned around me. But and then like as you complete those stories, things get creepier in the house for the girl. And like she starts to see things and gets freaked out. And it was one of the high points. And honestly, it's probably more of an action game, but it always sort of creeped me out just because of fear of the ocean. But the BioShock series.
Oh yeah, no, that was creepy atmosphere for sure.
Yeah, I have had it downloaded for the longest time on my PlayStation. And been meaning to get back into it because I haven't played it since I got it on PC. Also didn't finish. Amnesia was a really good one, and it gets really spooky.
Nice.
It's strictly first-person survival. There's shit chasing you around that you have to legit hide from. Your stats are essentially your mental state and your heart rate. And if you stay in the dark too long, like it gets bad. That's one that I've been meaning to get back to. Most recently, though, was a game that was released on Steam called Phasmophobia. Have you heard of it?
No, I haven't seen that.
So apparently, I can't really remember the creation of it, but the whole it's a 4-player game. You can play up to 4 players, and you're playing basically as paranormal investigator. And you take a job to investigate at a specific location, be it like a farmhouse, someone's house that's haunted, or a school or something like that. You get gear, and you go in, and you have to find out what kind of like specter or a banshee or something like that, you know. And whenever it starts to get more active, it does a thing called a hunt, and you essentially have to hide or it'll kill you. Right. The way that the voice stuff is set up on it is people have, you have to push to talk. You have one button just does local voice, so people around you can hear you, and another does microphone. So if you hold it down, it sounds like you're on a microphone if you're away and stuff.
Right.
If you die, you can't, I think you can hear the people, but they can't hear you. But you can see the ghosts and stuff like that.
Right.
So like you have this journal, you're doing tests for like temperature, fingerprints, putting a book down to see if the ghosts are right in it. It also has a voiced function. So they'll give you the name of the spirit that's haunting, and you'll say stuff to kind of invoke the spirit. And sometimes it'll trigger the spirit only coming after you and stuff like that. So it's pretty spooky. Like
Okay.
you can get freaked out really easy by playing it. We actually turn the lights off whenever we play it,
Oh,
like in our
gotcha.
office, to
Gotcha.
make it even spookier. Yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, that's most of the ones that I've played for recently.
yeah.
What do you got?
Well, I mean, I think the first true horror film or video game for me was Resident Evil 1 on PlayStation 1.
Right.
That was survival horror, and it's of just like the opening greatness of the cheesy B movie level live actors and the terrible acting in it. But like, yeah, you turn that first corner and you see that the first time you see that zombie kind of look over his shoulder in the shitty CG PS1 era stuff. But like that was, and then no one can deny that they didn't jump the first time them damn dogs busted through that window in that hallway.
Yeah.
I remember my dad's friend was playing the game out in the living room. He was sitting on the floor, leaning his back up against the couch, and he leapt from a sitting position a few inches off the ground when that happened. That one was definitely it. But again, like I said, I don't play a ton of horror video games, but the one that still gets me to this day, and I want to track it down, but I think it's gotten very rare. It's called Clock Tower, which was a Super Nintendo game apparently in Japan. Then they brought it over to the PS1, and it's survival horror in the literal sense. You're a girl in a mansion. You kind of got brought in to live there, and there's a mystery behind it you got to solve. But there's also this deformed killer with giant head shears, this giant clippers, and and in the game you're trying to solve the mystery, and you have no way to fight. Like all you can do at best is hide and throw something in his path. And if I remember correctly, there's no music in the game until he shows up. Like you'll just be it's kind of point and click adventure style. So you're exploring a room, then all of a sudden you'll just hear dun 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 dun, like the music slowly start, and if he may bust out of a vent from behind somewhere, or you'll just hear a shunk shunk of the clippers, the giant scissors, the opening and closing, and and like I said, you have no way to fight. You have the best you can do is throw a bicycle that's like in the hallway or something in front of him and run. And you don't know if you're going to get in the next room. The music will stop. You go to open up a dresser, and he pops out of like a closet.
Oh, God.
You know what I mean? And it's jump scares and true, like I said, survival horror, because like I said, unlike Resident Evil, you can shoot the zombies, and a lot of these horror, even in Eternal Darkness, you can fight. You can't fight in this game. You just got to survive it, and it's an absolute great horror movie. There's been multiple, but I don't think they've really come out much, or at least they're not easy to find. Because I don't think a lot of people got on that game, and that's still probably my number one, scary video game to play for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think. Well, you know what? No, we're gonna wrap this up. We're about to wrap this up, but we're gonna. Oh, sorry.
I got one more game to mention that just came to mind. Horror action. Did you ever play the Hunter Reckoning game?
No, but I know of it.
Yeah. So pretty much what you've got is like a Diablo style or Gauntlet Legend style, like over the top camera view, and you're playing these characters that have like kind of supernatural powers.
Right.
But you also get a fuck ton of like guns, like arsenal of guns. And you're surviving just through all these supernatural creatures like zombies, vampires, werewolves, stuff like that. And it's I think it's done by White Wolf, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was like those people are powered by the apocalypse or whatever. So like it kind of had the same vein of all those RPGs and stuff out there. But it was a series that I really would like to see made, a new game of these days. I think would be really cool. But it was pretty creepy.
Yeah. And actually, you mentioned it, the style, Diablo, particular Diablo 3. Yeah, that's definitely a horror game, just demons, undead, and all kind of stuff. But you know, you're wrecking through them. There's not really any time for jump scares or anything. But I love the Diablo franchise. And if Hunter plays like that, I'm always looking for new Diablo style games. Those are so much fun. I'm really hyped for part 4 whenever it's gonna fucking drop.
Yeah, I mean you've got your GameCube. I'm pretty sure you can find Hunter the Reckoning for pretty cheap.
Okay, I do have my GameCube still. I think the eye is dying on me though, unfortunately.
Oh no.
Every now and again, when I start to back up to play Phantasy Star online, it's just sometimes it won't read the disc, and I know that disc is immaculate. So
yeah,
it's dying on me. But no, that's the price you pay when you go back to you know, old school systems for sure. And that GameCube's got a lot of love. I love my GameCube.
Right.
But what I was going to ask was, you know, it's Halloween. We're recording this on Halloween, which involves trick or treating, costumes, and candy. Right. You got any particular fond costumes you ever wore, or any fun, like, you know, trick or treating stories?
I mean, mine were always pretty tame. A lot of my cousin lived in this like pretty nice neighborhood that was just built over in Cabot.
Right.
So we would always go there and trick or treat at all the big fancy houses over there. And it was kind of funny because like whenever him and I were growing up, because we're only a year apart, we'd always do like costumes that were involved, like, you know, like Ninja Turtles. We would do Ninja Turtles together, Power Rangers together. I think our youngest one that we have, that there are pictures out there of, we did Cowboys one year, and then we did Bert and Ernie another year. That was pretty great.
Nice, nice.
But it was kind of funny because I do remember my biggest thing was whenever I finally transitioned to not going out and collecting candy. Because I had an injury that year, like I fucked up my ankle somehow. I think it was like, playing like football or something, because, you know, I'm the big sports star now.
Oh yeah, such the athlete.
But I got to sit at the house and give out the candy and eat the candy while I was giving it out, and I was like, damn, that shit's for like the birds, man. I've got all the candy I want right here.
Right.
So
that's
fair.
Yeah,
that was.
Yeah, I was an Air Force brat. You know, my parents were both met in the Air Force, so we lived on a lot of bases. So when we were little, we were definitely going around, you know, getting a lot of good candy. I remember we unintentionally made creepy costumes, mind you, because we learned how to. We didn't learn how to do it because we were pretty young. But I did photos. It
doesn't get creepier than Bert and Ernie, sir.
you haven't seen paper mache masks where my brother's trying to get around making a serial killer kind of mask, like Jason-esque, paint his own, and me just being like, well, I got camouflage shirt and pants, I'm just going to make a camo mask, and my 1980s toy Uzi with no orange tip, it just looks like a real fucking Uzi. But like made creepier because it's like not well made paper mache, like hella textured, and I'm just painted greens and blacks on it to make it look camo. So we look like a fucked up purge, a group of kids. I think my sister was just like probably a princess, so it also didn't connect at all. But we went around though. I remember collecting a lot of good candy, but I've always kept this memory though, and I don't know. It could have been a cardboard cutout, or it could have been somebody. But we're walking with my mom. We're all, you know, and this is probably 6 or 7 years old. I am at that point, young, you know, still pretty young, and we were coming to a house that had a kind of a glassed porch, and I could clearly see a silhouette of someone like with their hands up, like, you know, kind of like this. It's like they're waiting to jump out at you, and it could have been a person. It could have been just a cardboard cutout. I don't fucking know. We weren't playing that fucking shit. We were like, nah, mom, they're gonna scare us, and we're not about that life on Halloween. Little sissy
you
kids
don't want to
that
be tricked.
We're like, no, not that house. that memory is forever burned into my brains because
my stepdad and uncle always used to have this thing that they would do, and like. They would put on, like, you know, long sleeve like flannel shirt or whatever, and like just some overalls and put some boots on, and they would take hay and they would stuff it in and have it coming out and wear gloves, and stuff it in that. And then they would put a mask over and have kind of hay coming out of that and sit in a chair, but make it look like they were like stiff, so they were like a scarecrow or something.
Right.
And then whenever the kids would start walking away after they got their candy, they would fucking jump out and scare them. And I'm like, man.
Right.
Yeah, it was pretty great. Right.
Awesome. Well, unfortunately, I forgot my water. My throat is fucking with me. So we're going to call it on this Halloween special. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing us talk about some good spoopy, as the kids say, at least on my Facebook timeline. Some good spooky, scary stuff that we enjoyed. And Jerry's cat in the background. Ruby chilling, doing what she do. Gotta have a black cat on Halloween, right?
It's bath time.
Bath time? Oh, it is bath time. But thank y'all for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment. Actually, comment especially on this one. I want to hear y'all's favorite horror movies, video game, manga, anime, Halloween candy.
Memories.
Tell us what Halloween candy you fucking like. Your favorite costume you ever dressed up as. And again, as always, share this video around. Please spread the good word of the Yokai Delinquents podcast. Mm-hmm. And but yeah, for now, that's going to do it. Thank y'all for tuning in. We're going to catch y'all later.
Peace.